Because basically, Henry the First, he's like the cool, like everybody loved him. He never did anything wrong. He was wise. He was powerful. He had no temperament. He could read very well. And then, so that's who I aspire to be. Then there's the one who you think you are, Henry II. Again, very powerful, but he had his flaws. And, he's moving around all the time, which is what I do, but really more what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then there's this guy who's like, I don't want to be him, but I am. I mean, like, I don't see myself as him, but other people.
I mean, he's probably the best one, right?
He's kind of the lamest guy in all of the Middle Ages, to be honest. He doesn't even. I mean, he looks really regal and stuff right here, but that's the thing. He just he prayed a lot. He gave his money to the poor and the sick, which was really weird for a medieval king to do.
Really?
He didn't go to war, like, at all. When he did, he was awful at it. He didn't even attack towns. He basically went to war to go on vacation. Like the French are over here in this town, right?
Yeah.
And his generals are like, let's go to battle. And he's like, I'm going to go to the other town and we're going to go to church and pray. Like, it's a really cool church. Like, these French guys, they got great churches.
Yeah.
So basically his time spent abroad was supposed to be attacking the French, but was really just like sightseeing.
I guess. I mean...
And that's totally what I was
doing. That was like, why? I mean, let's not.
He's the first guy that definitely...
let's just... Why are we... Come on.
He didn't rejoice in slaughter, is the thing. Whereas his predecessors definitely... They rode in on their horses, and this guy didn't even do tournaments. He didn't even go hunting.
Goddamn socialist.
He did... What else can I say about that? He loved candles, and I'm sorry to say I love candles too. It's like, I don't want to be him, but the more I read about him, it's like, I'm not his grandfather, and I'm definitely not his great-great-grandfather.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, this guy's always looking to other people for what to do, he has no... Like, he gave 9 castles to this guy called De Burgh, because here's another thing. He became king when he was 9 years old.
Okay.
And this guy, De Burgh, his dad's dead because everyone hated his dad and he was struck down by God. But this guy, De Burgh, takes him under his wing and kind of shows him the kingdom and everything. And Henry's like, well, geez, you're protecting me and you're pretty cool. Why don't you just take the whole kingdom? And he basically gives it to this guy, this De Burgh. This De Burgh, by the end of his stay, he had 9 castles, which is like more than the king had at that time. Like personal castles to himself that he could collect revenue from.
How awkward is that if he's just like...
For the nobles of the country to see this, for them to have like maybe a couple castles each, and then to look at the king, and then the king's guardian who is just taking everything.
But it's one of those things, like, if he's like... You said he was like taking care of the places, right?
Oh yeah, he was a good guardian. He's a good guardian.
So it's like...
So yeah, I could see where I would have done the same thing for Henry. Like Henry's a modest guy. He doesn't need all these castles and stuff. I mean, what's he going to use his money for? He's not going to war.
And all the himself, he's probably the Burrs guy. He's probably like that's you're not supposed to nah, I mean, you run it better. It makes more sense.
Yeah, De Burgh's probably like the whole time, I don't know if I should be taking all these from you, Henry. And Henry's like,
what am I going to do with it? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how to do any of this. You know how to do it. And all the nobles are just like, this is he's the worst.
It did come around to this happened for about 7 years. And then at the end of it, Henry just kind of like, someone must have gotten to his ear and been like, you just gave everything to this De Burgh. And Henry just snaps at De Burgh. No, that's by himself. Henry doesn't even have the balls to execute someone who's taken complete advantage of him for 7 years. So, he does have him thrown away. But then the funny thing is, the guy who was whispering in his ear saying, get rid of De Burgh, he's taking advantage of you. That guy then takes advantage of him, even harsher. And this is a Frenchman, right? So he takes everyone over from France. It's like, come on, back to England. We got... Yeah.
Oh, you didn't see that coming?
Well, remember, these guys were French. They were French themselves just 2 generations back. But all of a sudden, King John lost the French stuff. So now all of a sudden, French are foreigners.
Oh, okay, all right.
Even though literally 20 years ago, most of them they're all, they're all French, but now they're English.
Well, that probably did it for them, huh?
It did, yep, so it was a quick divide,
It's
and
like
then,
you can't trust any of those Frenchmen.
yeah,
I tried
so,
once. It didn't work out.
so no, he kicked out that guy eventually, though, and then that's where I am now, or where the last chapter was the years of success. So I just finished his years of success, and now we're back to him campaigning, and it's not going to go well, because it's called the disastrous campaign of 1242, so I don't imagine he'll get much out of it. Besides sightseeing, which he loved to do. And he had a 12-year-old wife when he was 27.
All right.
And they didn't do it right away, but when she was 15, that's where Edward comes in. And we talked about Edward a few years back when I read his book.
Yeah.
The frickin' tall guy who, the one accomplishment of this guy's life is that he made frickin' great kids. I mean, Edward was frickin' tall, lived to be 68, and was healthy the whole way, which was unheard of for the Middle Ages. To be that strong and mighty his entire life.
Pretty old for like.
Well, if you
1400.
even if you lived to the 60s, but like you were debilitated, you were crunched over, couldn't see any shit.
60 was like 102.
Yeah. So for Edward to live to 60, it was great genetics. This Henry III passed on his great genetics, and then Edward was great, but he unfortunately couldn't make kids. Remember, he had 14, which is actually 16 now. He had 16 as the consensus, and remember only like 4 of them lived to be adults. He's the one with the unnamed
Right.
unnamed daughter and unnamed child, which is actually, there's 2 more unnamed ones too.
Yeah.
That they've discovered in recent
Fair
years.
enough. If you have like, I guess I don't know when he had these kids, but like if I had 11 kids and I was like a 12th one and like 9 of them died.
Yeah, none of them were living.
I would be like,
none
listen,
of them.
I'm gonna wait till he's 6 before I name him.
Especially, it was all the girls that lived too. There was one. He got super lucky. It was his last son, like child 16 out of 16. Mm-hmm. And that's the one that finally carried on the kingdom then. But before that, every boy, I think the second oldest boy lived to be 11. And that's...
You tried hard.
Yeah, well, you got to feel for his wife, man. That's 20 straight years of childbirth.
Was it one wife?
Yeah, they were second cousins, remember? Which might have had something to do with all the premature death, but... And it was not him. Well, it wasn't. He was with the second cousin. Also, the son that lived was also then with a second cousin. And then his son also married a second cousin. So that was 3 straight generations, actually.
But is that like... Because I know, like, I don't know if it was back in, like, the Middle Ages. But I know that, like, royalty and, like, European royalty, like, they really wanted to keep it in the family.
Yes, no, that's absolutely true.
So
Not
is
so
it
much.
also part of it too, like.
Well, no, they weren't consciously keeping it in the family. It was just if it was convenient, if it made an alliance, if the dowry was proper. You definitely had to be aristocratic, and you had to be part of the high nobility. So there weren't too many options. I mean, ideally, they tried to marry him off to like the king or queen of France. You would, but there's only so many times you can do that before your descendants then are going to be related.
Details.
Yeah, details. So that's 9 minutes of our medieval history. So basically, I don't want to be Henry III, but I think I am. No, he is cool, though. He's nice. Like, how many times do you come across a medieval king that's nice? It's rare.
Yeah.
It's rare. And this guy was genuinely... He makes jokes, too, which we can get into. Yeah, he's the first comedian king. He's got his whole chancery. That's how this book is so thick. Because he's freaking talking to people and saying, write this down, So, that was cool. All right, let's do something.
I'm gonna ask, jeez.